You don't have to know the how, but what's that vision that will get your butt out of bed every day, even on the days you don't want to? And then, because that's a huge goal, we reverse engineer that and we start to think more tactically.
No matter what, I said it before, just like change, going back to your word, as long as your mindset tells you that your success is inevitable, you're going to figure it out.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.
Oh, welcome back. Welcome one, welcome all to your one-stop shop for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope, and welcome back to the Speak Your Vision podcast. Let's get after it. So, you know what we do here. We talk empowerment, we bring up the concepts, we have the conversations, we get vulnerable. As you all know from the last episode, we keep it real, we do what we got to do, and welcome to the Speak Your Vision podcast. Once again, not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. I am Tariq Williams, and we're back with another guest. So today we're going to talk about handling change and what that looks like. And I was like, who better to have this conversation with? Coach, host of the podcast Adulting 101, teaching young adults how to transition out of high school and become adults. None other than Eden Gold. Eden Gold, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, that was quite the energy, Tariq. I'm feeling like I have to match your energy a little bit, okay? But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. And I just want to set the precedent for those who, we hear these words kind of thrown out like change or authenticity or like whatever the word is, right? And so when we're talking about change, this can be any life change that you're going through that rattles you a little bit because it takes us out of our comfort zone. Moving, going through a breakup, graduating from high school, college, getting a new job, deciding whether or not to get married. Like it can be anything. So when we are uncomfortable, our bodies try to fight us into getting back to a place of comfort, but we need to recognize that it's okay to take that change.
It's okay to not be comfortable because that's where the growth happens. All right. That's where the growth happens in doing those new things or whatever that change looks like. Before I get into how I typically start with, I'm big into language, but before I get into how we typically start, Eden Gold, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, that was a really great introduction of who I am. I am a youth motivational speaker, keynote speaker, host of the Real Life Adulting podcast. We actually just launched on February 5th. So it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts right now. I'm really excited to grow that to a place where we're doing podcast tours for people who are in that 18 to 26 to 30-year-old range and really cracking down on what it takes to be successful in adulthood. On that same note, I have an online program called Life After High School. It's a 10-week program taking students on a journey to setting those foundations for personal, professional, and financial success in adulthood.
Let's
Let's
go. It's
go.
because everybody think about that A to B done, but these things don't happen overnight. There is a journey, like exactly like you said, that you have to go through to get to wherever it is you want to be, and you might not exactly be where exactly you thought it was going to be, but hey, we accept the change and we make it happen because everybody change has a lot of different connotations. We'll get into that, but Eden,
Great.
when you think of the word change, one word that you think of when you think of the word change.
Inevitable. Change is absolutely inevitable, whether you want it to or not. Sometimes we're conscious of the changes that need to happen or we're contemplating making, but everything else, even if it's not a part of your conscious thinking and it's subconscious, you're changing all the time. You're just conscious about some of them, and some of them are just happening. So whether you like it or not, change is happening and it's inevitable.
Mm. You know, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change That's
Or you're
hilarious.
changing all the time, okay?
Not going to change
You're
as I'm
always
talking.
changing, Tariq, okay?
Not going to exactly change what our podcast is about. However, comma, I'll say this because we're big mindset people, right? What I will say is this: change is inevitable, but recognize this: your success is also inevitable.
Mhm.
Like or what have you, your success is also inevitable. I love that word. Let's get after it. We're gonna set the tone here for that. That's really helped us kind of shape what this is gonna look like today.
Yeah.
So when you are ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, everyone, keynote speaker eating gold, and you are getting ready to talk to your audience, your demographic audience that you typically talk to is obviously typically going through some type of transition, if it's high school into college, different things like that. How do you typically discuss the concept of change when you're giving a during a speaking engagement?
Well, you can't discuss the concept of anything until you create a rapport and a trust with your audience. And so relatability is always my number one. I did a speaking engagement back in May, and it was at my old high school, and that was like a crazy dream of mine. So 500 kids, staff, like they were all there. And what the first thing they cheered to is when I told them I was a college dropout. They're like, yeah. And then the teacher came up to me after, and she was like, that was kind of a bummer, but honestly, your presentation was amazing. But it's relatability. So when I can get them to trust me and see that, look, I'm nothing special by being up on this stage. I don't put myself up on a pedestal being here. I am a voice for you and what you can be if you choose a different path in your life and choose to change. And some of you might be thinking, what can this white girl teach me about my life? I'm serious though, because I recognize that I come from a position of privilege, even being alive and being in the United States and being a white woman and all those things. So, and I say it like it is. I say some of you are probably thinking that. But if you give me a chance and recognize that I was in your shoes not that long ago, and now I am up on this stage, I don't have a job. I quit that to start my business. Maybe, just maybe, I have something that you can take away to apply to your life so you can be happier, healthier, and make more money in your future. And then they're like, oh, okay, like, she probably right. And then we get to explore this concept of how do we get from where we are to where we want to be, despite the hardships that we face along the way.
Come on now, that's why I mess with you, Eden, yo, because you out here, you're out here.
I mean,
Love it.
I'm in a bedroom right now, but I'm out here, when I'm outside. So
So when you bring up, let's so many things I want to get into there. Let's start here. You talk to high school students and you're having a conversation with them, and you're like, yeah, full disclosure, I'm a I was a college dropout. You know what I mean? And you have that conversation with them. And the teachers are putting their head down and they're like, oh gosh, da da da. You know what I mean? And they're like, where is this gonna go? Right? And you mentioned the importance of vulnerability and relatability there. Discuss why that's so important. And then from there, tell me how should how you elevate that conversation and
yeah.
recognizing that, we all got to make different decisions. And like, sure, I may have dropped out of school or whatever, but to get to where I wanted to be, I had to learn some lessons along the way.
Yeah. Let me break it down this way. In every single stage of our life, we are presented with two conflicting conflicts, though I wish I used another word. So when we're toddlers, we start to have the battle between autonomy and still feeling like we are a part of our parent. And then we get into like the middle school phase, the high school phase. When we are in middle school, well, let me say it like this. How do we learn when we're growing up right from wrong? Because our parents, when we did something right, they're like, good job, you did it. And when we do something wrong, try again. Like, just try again, or they tell you you did it wrong. So we grow up only knowing right from wrong by getting validation from other people. So come middle school, all of a sudden, people aren't going to give us validation for something. So when we fail, we're like, I'm doing it wrong. I'm the worst. We're not taught to get back up again. It's not that we don't have it in us or we want to. It's that our whole lives, the only way we thought we were worth something is if we were achieving and succeeding. And so now that we're in middle school and we have to have that independence without asking for it, it's just thrown our way. We have to learn to pick ourselves back up when we fail. And so this causes a lot of self-doubt, insecurity, lack of self-confidence, and feeling like a failure can really take a toll on us if we don't recognize this and choose to fight anyways and continue to grow. So the problem is not only are we going through this, we think that we have to hide that part of us because that's not normal. That it's not normal. So I can't share with other people what I'm going through. Yet we all grow up with the same dynamic. We all grow up this way. So we don't recognize that the person sitting right next to us in class is going through the same exact thing developmentally. But we don't recognize it like that. So we hide and we feel like no one can relate to us. And we feel like I can't tell anyone what I'm going through. I barely have the words to put to what I'm going through. So we all feel alone to a certain degree, unless somebody teaches us that, oh, I'm so much more alike to my peers than I am different. So me as a speaker, I come in and I tell them, we are so much more alike than we are different. You have way different backgrounds. Your parents taught you differently. Some of you come from abusive households, some don't, but we are still a lot more alike than we are different. And I help them break down those walls to feel more relatable to one another. So relatability is huge in feeling like we're not isolated from the world.
And if I say that, if I can say this, when you talk about those differences, when you get to that differences piece, know this: there's nothing wrong with being different either.
Yeah. Yeah. And vulnerability. We live in an era of social media, which I don't think we need to get into because everyone and their mother and their dog gets into it. But we are shielded by these insecurities, but we all have a voice in a way that we otherwise wouldn't have a voice. And we all want to seeking that external validation. If we're not learning these lessons in school, which newsflash, you aren't, your teacher isn't going to teach you about self-confidence within yourself, most likely. We start to find alternative ways to seek that validation. And so that's posting something online in hopes that other people are going to like it, comment on it, so on and so forth. So we can feed this inner child. And let me tell you a fun statistic. Did you know that people who post about their relationship online are statistically more likely to be having a failing relationship than people who don't post at all? It's because they know that they're struggling, and when they post it, if they get likes and comments and validation, it makes them feel justified in staying with this person when their relationship's not working out.
Wow, wow,
Isn't that crazy?
that's you know, it's interesting because I saw somebody post something or whatever. I forget where I saw this, but right, like it was 10 seconds before they posted whatever, they were in this giant fight or whatever. So I think the vulnerability piece, people don't realize that your life doesn't have to necessarily be perfect, and you could show up in a way that things might not be going well. And then that could even connect with audiences even better because it's like, hey, I'm not the only one going through some stuff. Other people are too.
Yeah.
So that's a top of your head where that statistic is?
No, but I can find it and I can send it to you if you want to put it in the show notes.
We'll put in the show notes description. I think that's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say this soon into the show, but I give my students and the audience I serve something called the Protect Yourself Toolkit, and we can talk about it a little bit more later. But it's essentially that if you're going through something,
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
if you're going through something, yes, we want to find relatability. And what we find online is often not relatable, but we have the ability to change our mental environment. If you can't change where you live and whatever else right now, we can change the content that we consume. It's very simple. unfollow people, follow people that motivate you, start to curate a feed of strength and positivity in your life to protect yourself. So that's just one of the parts of the Protect Yourself toolkit.
Protect yourself toolkit. That's an interesting transition because when we talk about protecting yourself, right, and getting back to this word of change, so often people have problems with change. And so, how do you necessarily and protect yourself, or how does one? What are some of the biggest problems people have with change?
The biggest problems people have with change. Well, I'm going to rephrase that and kind of say why we fail to achieve our goals. Because in order to achieve our goals, it's, we've heard before, it's not about the destination, it's about the person you become in the process. That requires change. That fundamentally, from a biological standpoint, scares us. So our bodies are going to fight this new habit building process. And all of my students in life after high school learn this. We learn that we fail to achieve our goals for one of three big reasons. One,
All right.
you don't want it as much as you think you do. Look, and I'm being dead serious. You need to have a good look at yourself in the face and ask you, do you really want this goal, or do you want it because your mom wants it for you, because this girl over here has it, and so you feel like it's the thing to have?
Because it sounds cool.
Because it sounds cool. If I'm being honest with myself, I want to fight in an amateur boxing match. It's something on my bucket list. But if I really wanted it, I would be working my ass off to make it happen. And I'm not, because at least right now in my life, I don't want it as much as I think that I want it. So I got to push it aside for now. Number two, you talked about A to B thinking before. Teach a concept called A to Z thinking. We don't reach our goals because we're seeing somebody who is the epitome of what we want to be, and we're like, that's not possible. Because we don't know the steps. You're over here at A thinking about the final destination Z, but you don't know the B, C, D, E, F, blah, blah, blah. So while it's important to visualize and think about our end goal, we don't want to get stuck there, because then it can have the adverse effect of making us feel even worse about ourselves. So we need to break it down into the B, the C, the D, blah, blah, blah. That's what my students learn in the program.
Go.
C is you don't believe that you can, because whatever you believe, your brain will subconsciously find reasons to prove that belief right every single day. If you believe that you are unloved or not worthy of a relationship, a partner, some guy, like in my case, let's use for example, if I believe that, and there's this guy that's cute, and I text him and he doesn't text me back, what's my brain going to tell me? Oh, it's because I'm not worth it. I'm unlovable, blah, blah, blah. What is it about me? And it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy that reaffirms our belief that has no beneficial value to our life at all. But if I choose to believe something different, he was at work. Oh, well, that was a dumb thought of me to have, right? So we just don't believe we can, and so we're going to sabotage it every which way. There's some other things that can come into play here, like your goals aren't specific enough. You're not compartmentalizing or making time for those goals.
I'll say this, if I was ever in a situation like what you just mentioned, I'd be like, well, I guess they weren't interested in the best, and that's fine. Some people aren't. So that's that's interesting, and I say this all the time to my audience. Whether you believe you can, whether you believe you can't, either way, you're right.
That my mom says that to me literally all the time. That's crazy. Growing up, it was that quote, and it was, don't make somebody a priority who makes you an option. Those are like the two things she always ingrained to me as a kid. And I didn't know what they meant at the time. I'm like, yeah, mom, sure, whatever. But I mean, you're so right.
Well, let's. So you said change is inevitable, right? But let's go to that priority and option thing, and let's put change in there, okay? So should change be a priority in what you're working on trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Or is it an option? What do you let's have that conversation. What do you think?
Change is a priority, and you can also use change interchangeably with a word like growth. And there's a famous quote by Tony Robbins where it's, if we're not growing, we're dying. We feel like we have the most purpose in this life when we're achieving something and reaching a goal. Again, because it's not about the destination, but the journey and who you become in the process of changing. You're mentally, physically, emotionally different. And I was just having a conversation with this amazing, successful woman, Dr. Universe Kanadu, and she works with women with trauma. She's built a multi-million dollar business. And I had a group session with her, and she said, man, I'm telling you what, when I made my $10 million, I didn't even really care that much. Those people would be like, what? That's a crazy goal. But it wasn't about the money. Sure, it's a goal and they keep us moving forward. But what mattered is the connection she built along the way, the lifelong relationships, the mindset shifts that allow her to pull herself out of a dark space every time she's in one. No amount of money can do that for you.
You know, when individuals are going through trying to get to a specific goal and they fail, they struggle, they hit an obstacle, the immediate thought is, gosh, I guess that's not for me. And I'm here to tell you, absolutely not. That does not mean it's not for you. If you come across some struggle, that means you had to learn something to get to where you wanted to be.
Yeah. There is no success without failure. If no one knows who Robert Kiyosaki is, you should look him up. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he has a quote that I used to say in my speaking engagements, and it's something along the lines of, there is no success without failure. Failure is inevitable. The journey of success, it basically includes failure every single day. And I'm just going to be honest, you're going to fail a lot more times than you succeed in this life. So if you can view failure as an opportunity to learn, grow, and just tell yourself this, every time you fail, you know what? Now I learned one more way not to do it, which means I'm this much closer to figuring out how to do it. Well, and you learned another skill. You learned a skill set that you wouldn't have otherwise had. And now this is your framework in which you're building. I want to share one more thing really quickly. And I saw this on Instagram. It was the analogy of a bamboo tree. In order for bamboo to grow, you have to water it every single day for 5 years. And during those 5 years, you will not see it grow at all. And if you miss a day, it's going to die. But the roots are growing for 5 years straight. And if you water this bamboo plant every day for 5 years straight, it will grow 90 feet in 9 weeks. 90 feet in 9 weeks. Now, answer me this. Did the bamboo tree grow in 9 weeks or 5 years and 9 weeks? Because you see, we all see the 9 weeks and we're like, what? How? Oh my God, fame and success. But no one sees the 5 years or 10 years or 20 you put before that until you reach this explosive growth. You have to do the work. You have to look at the long-term approach of your life and develop habits so you're not consciously like, oh my gosh, when is this going to happen? Make positive changes a part of your lifestyle.
So I'm going to send you these later, but I'm going to plug these clips in right now because I have specific shorts where I talk specifically about that point. I'll send them to you later. We're going to plug them in right here.
Crazy concept. Have you ever heard grass grow? Let's listen. Of course not. You can't just talk about your journey. You got to put action in. You got to be patient throughout your actions. You got to continue working and making the action. But ultimately, the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. So put the patience in, put the action in, and get after it. Let's get it. Vision. And so we talked about this last week. The grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. And that means being consistent. That means being able to work on your goals and dreams and having those expectations for yourself. But what happens when you don't water that grass? Give you the real. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. It's going to die. It's going to die. So if you want your goals and dreams to die, you go ahead and not be consistent. Just being real with you. Let's get it. Vision.
It's like, yeah, same, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, easy for you to say because of, privilege, or they see what you do have and they don't see the growth behind it. I'm going to ask your audience if they know someone, or even you, do you know who Nick Santanastasso is?
I don't.
So he's a man who was born with no legs and one arm. And his brother committed suicide. I believe he committed suicide, or it was a drug overdose, something like that. Don't quote me on that. He's a multi 7-figure mindset coach who works alongside Tony Robbins. Check him out. Maybe you can put his name in the show notes so I don't have to spell it. Santanastasso. And if somebody in his position can choose to develop his mindset in a way that shows growth and ultimately doesn't, his circumstance doesn't define him, then you know that he's won. So no amount of me being white makes me not have to put in the work. I don't know, that's just an example. No amount of me being a woman makes me not have to do shit. I still have to put in the work every single day, regardless of if I'm able-bodied, of if I have 2 legs that work, of whatever. You know what I mean?
We talk about this, I mean, all the time with my blindness, right? That doesn't make me not have to put in the work or a special whatever. I don't want the handout. I don't want the handout because you are stopping me from learning what I need to learn to get to where I want to be. You giving me whatever does not get me to where I want to be. Me putting in the work does.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that you've learned so much on your journey of navigating life as a blind man. And you even told me something along the lines of, I wouldn't change what happened to me, what I've experienced, because had this not happened, there's a level of growth maybe you wouldn't have reached had God not put these struggles in your life. Is that true?
No doubt. No doubt. No
You can
doubt.
find the beauty in everything. I really think that you can. And I just wish more people saw that and believed in themselves. But there's ways to do that. And we can get into that. But there's ways to shift your mindset and do that.
As I've told you before, as I've told the audience, when I became blind, I wasn't sure what next looked like, right? Um, a lot of the audience knows I recently lost my sister. I've been trying to navigate what next looks like from that, right? And so as I think about next, I want to be the person that who my sister wanted me to be and who I was, and who I am, right? Um, and that does not come with, I know it's not a perfect road. I recognize that. And I think it's important to recognize that your road's not going to be perfect.
Mhm.
Um, because quite frankly, it's well, you know what? Let me actually change that. Your road isn't going to be perfect. However, your road is perfectly yours because that's what you needed. Not what Tariq needed, not what Eden needed, not what the person sitting next to you needed, because you would not be listening to this alone because it's, no pun intended, gold out here. But what happens is it's perfectly yours.
And you don't have to know the what. You said, I don't know what's next. You don't have to know the what, or scratch that. You don't have to know the road to get there. But what vision do you have for your life? What is that goal that you have for your life? And maybe you don't know what career you want, because I work with a lot of young adults who are like, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. Why should you? Do everything while you can. So I'm going to challenge that. What you mean is like, what's next? You know what you want, Tariq, but you might not, you might be a little bit fuzzy in the how because you're going through this grieving phase and you're feeling like, how can I be productive, or whatever it is? I'm just kind of making this up as I go when I'm going through this. You know what you want. You know that. And even if things change along the way, you still have this vision and this purpose of serving others and something outside of yourself. So let me touch on that for a second. We want a goal so vivid, something outside of ourselves that pulls us to a greater future, not just pushes us away from a bad past in a place that we don't want to be. If we look at feelings like depression, it's a very internalizing, selfish feeling, right? We're hunched over, we're in a corner, we're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, me, and take selfish with a grain of salt, right? If it's like the number one or number two way to start to overcome feelings of depression is to be of service to other people. something outside of yourself. What goal do you have outside of yourself that can pull you into that greater future? And if it's not, you don't need to know, like I said, what career you want, whatever, but what do you envision for your life? What, like, do you envision like living on a beach one day? Do you envision your mom being like retiring your mother? You don't have to know the how, but what's that vision that will get your butt out of bed every day, even on the days you don't want to? And then, because that's a huge goal, we reverse engineer that and we start to think more tactically.
No matter what, I said it before, just like change, going back to your word, as long as your mindset tells you that your success is inevitable, you're going to figure it out.
So I want to share on that point. I was listening to a Bert Kreischer. I don't know, but I love him. He's a comedian. I was listening to one of his podcasts lately, and he said something that dramatically changed his day. Something so stupidly simple that 99% of your audience won't do it. Somebody would ask him, "How's your day going?" Or yeah, how's your day? And he at first would just be like, "Good." You know, we all say good. Whatever's going on, we all say good. But then he started saying, when someone asked him, "How's your day?" he would say, "Fucking amazing." Even if it wasn't, even if it wasn't, because something shifts in your mentality when you're like, having a fucking great day. And then it changes everything. So simple, the power of words. It feeds into your subconscious brain differently than just thinking words. You have to say them out loud. So change the little things you say. And I'm talking to myself too, because lately people have been asking me how I'm doing. And I'm going through some stuff right now. So I've been saying, I'm alive. And I just thought that today. I'm like, why am I doing that to myself? I'm setting myself up for a day to just be alive. Like, no, snap that in the butt. I'm having a fucking amazing day. Okay. And just feel it. Just feel it.
I was working I was having a mindset coaching seminar, and we had like 15, 20 people there, and everybody had to pick a word that they associated with, and one person chose survivor, and she told about her story about her overcoming cancer and everything like that. And I said, it's a powerful story, and we connected, we had that conversation, right? But I said, but you did that already.
Mhm.
Like, okay, you're
You're
surviving,
surviving.
but don't you deserve more to yourself than to just survive?
Yeah. We have to remind ourselves that.
So whatever the changes look like in your life, or however to handle it, and different things deserve more. You know, the change is inevitable, right? And so if you recognize that you deserve more and that you're not just surviving, that you can be able to handle change in a way that can get you to where you want to be.
A lot of us are living from this place of survival because at one point in our life, we were living in a stress response, fight or flight, and we had to survive, uh, quote unquote, even if it wasn't legitimately, I'm going to die, but very stressful situations. And we need to remind ourselves, okay, but you're not there anymore. And there's a certain audience I'm not speaking to. If you are in a very toxic situation that you need to get out of, this
Yeah.
is for everyone else who does have a choice. Like, you're not being held against your will, things of that nature. You're not there anymore. And you have to remind yourself that you're not there. And by behaving in a way that you've always behaved to survive, it's not going to get you to where you want to go. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. So we need to start to shift.
So if you're not there anymore and you're going through whatever, ultimately it's this. Ultimately, sure, there's different changes happening, but it's not about the change. It's about the fact that you're evolving into the person who you want to be, who you already are, but recognize that you need to evolve. It's an evolution process. So there's a point somewhere where there's changes, but you're actually evolving to get to that level.
And again, it doesn't have to be a monumental change, but if you're like, man, things aren't right, I'm not feeling good, I need to do something different, AKA, I need to make a change. It's simple. Put on Tariq's podcast in the morning. All you have to do is listen to it because the frequencies, I don't know the science behind this, but your brain is at a certain frequency in the morning. And to listen to something motivational in the morning has more impact than other times of the day. So it's so simple. You just have to feed your brain while it's in a certain frequency in the morning, and it has the ability to change your entire day. So a simple change that can change your mindset, and then maybe you'll be more clear to start to identify, oh my gosh, what does Tariq really want? What does Eden really want? What does Josie really want? What does Jose really want? All these things, you know? So just making small changes like that can ultimately lead to a big change, even if we don't know what we exactly want.
Is what you want, do you really want that? Are you actually putting in the effort? Are you making the change to actually want that? Are you going to take Eden's advice and listen to the Speaker Vision podcast in the morning and see what it looks like to want to change your mindset? The choice is yours.
The choice is yours. We always have a choice. Sometimes we forget that because we're held back by whatever internal thoughts and dialogue. But there's very simple things you can do that can quite honestly begin to change your life by tomorrow or today or this week.
You know, someone told me a quote about investing. Okay? Follow me, follow me, follow me. I'm going to say this quote right now, though, for taking the next step in your life. Okay? So I'm going to change the words. The best time to take the next steps in your life to make the change, the best time is yesterday. The second best time, today. So you already missed out on yesterday. We got right now. So let's make it happen.
I want to piggyback on that and say that we talked a lot about why we don't change or fail to achieve our goals, and it's because we don't believe that we can. And I want to toss out there that a belief is a poor excuse, or how does it go? A belief is a poor substitute for an experience. A belief is a poor substitute for an experience because we believe that we can't. We believe this, believe that, I'm not capable, I'm not worthy, whatever. You haven't experienced otherwise. We need to challenge that belief and then be able to validate that challenge. So we have to do something new, get a quick win, so simple, and that validates that challenges that belief, and we start to change. A belief is a poor excuse. An experience is what you need. You need an environment of enriching experience. How can you cultivate that experience in your life, even if you're stuck at home and can't travel the world? That's not what I mean. Don't twist it.
Yeah.
Cultivate an environment of enriching experience that can get you when you're looking for to challenge that belief that you and I both know deep down is wrong.
We brought the energy today, Eden. We brought the energy today. Let's go.
Let's go.
We're talking about a lot of different concepts there, and you brought up a lot of different quotes from different people. You know, that belief piece and everything like that, like when you come across that struggle of recognizing that that's just something you have to learn along the way. You mentioned a lot of different people. Eden, I promise, I'm not, follow me, audience, please. I'm not completely crazy, but follow me, audience. So, Eden, I from the wise philosopher, speaker, um, wise individual, esteemed actor. I promise I'm not gonna slap you in the face, but Will Smith says that he has a clip where he says how frustrating it could be with people's relationship with failure, and that you should. And he ends it by saying, "Fail early, fail often, fail forward."
Ooh, I love that. I've heard that before. Yeah, and I think there's a TED Talk. It's either a TED Talk or just I think it's a TED Talk. And it's this guy who intentionally went out of his way to try and fail just to know his experience and learn something. Like he would go to Burger King, get a burger, and then he would go,
Exactly who you're talking about.
"Can I get a refill on this burger?" And just because he knew they would say no, right? Because it teaches you something, and it's so embarrassing and shameful. But like we mentioned before, uh, growth doesn't happen in times of ease; it happens in times of discomfort, right? And so, putting yourself in a position to fail it's just really cool. I would recommend checking it out. I haven't seen it in a while.
It was that and maybe our next episode together, Eden, because we're gonna have you back on. We need to, because that was about rejection therapy, I believe it was. Maybe we'll come back and we'll talk about that. But
So
oh, go ahead.
I I have a whole lesson on how to handle rejection in my program, but also I want to give your audience, I have an ebook all about the science behind visualization and how it can actually get you closer to achieving your goals when something feels like you can smell it, you can hear it. When something feels so real to us, there's no way it's not going to happen for you. And there's science behind this. So if you want to give them that free download in the show notes, then they can access that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I vibe with you, Eden, because our mindsets are similar. Um, my free guide as well, how to win every day, is something definitely similar. We'll put both in, and we'll make sure that you get all the value. You get 2 for 1 here. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So Eden, want to connect with you. People want to learn from you. Tell us about all the things you're doing right now.
So the first thing is I want to talk about the podcast. I I release a new episode every single Monday. Again, it's the Real Life Adulting Podcast. It's a gold circle with a gold mic and a green cloudy background. It's really cool. But the podcast is not just to talk and share tips and even interview highly successful people. It's to bring and shine a light on your everyday person going through everyday stuff. So if you feel like you have a story you want to share that can be helpful to people in this transitional phase of their life, 18 to 26, email me your story. We don't have a dedicated email for the show. I mean, I do, but it might change. So go ahead and email your story to my business email, hello at iamedengold.com. And we can talk about what that could look like if you want your voice to be featured and be a voice for the young adults that I serve. For the first 50 people to subscribe to the show, give a 5-star rating, download the show, and follow the Instagram page, you're going to be in a running to get into my program, Life After High School, 100% for free as a thank you for supporting the mission we're on. It's over $5,000 worth of value to help you change your life in adulthood. And so know that we want to give you our thanks in that regard. And then, yeah, the podcast Instagram is Real Life Adulting Pod. And my main Instagram is Eden Gold _.
Amazing, amazing. Oh man.
That was fun.
So, Eden, here we go. Tell me, tell us, tell the world. This is the Speak Your Vision podcast here. We talked about a lot of different things here today. We talked about change. We talked about evolving. We talked about getting to where you want to be, your goals, etc. A lot of value here today. Give me one word. What's the one word takeaway?
Go. That's my one word takeaway. Like, go do it. Go do it. If not now, when? You are in a pivotal moment of your life. Just go and do it. Go fail. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? We spend more time worried about what we're doing than what other people are doing. So while I could be thinking everyone's looking at me and like caring about me, people don't care. Newsflash, you aren't that special. I'm not that special. Nobody cares. We are all like self-consuming, trying to fix us. We don't care what you have going on. So go and do it because no one's watching and you have an opportunity right now. And I say that with love. So go. Go is my word.
I love the idea you said it with love. You know, I don't typically do this, but I'm going to today because I feel like we were vibing here so well. I'm going to add a word to your word. I'm just going to put it in the beginning of before your word. And I'm just going to say, let's go! Let's go!
I like it. Let's go. Let's go. Like now's the time. Come on. Like I'm in a hurry because the goal I have for my life, I can feel it, I can smell it, and I'm like, ooh, it is right around the corner, and so I gotta go. Like I'm
Let's
busy.
go.
I got dreams to create, missions to
Let's go.
fulfill. Yeah.
Let's go.
And Tariq,
Let's go.
I'm here for you if you need anything or have any questions. You're not alone. Let's go.
Gosh, Eden, this was fantastic having you on today. This was amazing. I'm ready to make it happen. Um, quick little comments here for the people. Once again, all the information how to contact Eden, her freebie, her coaching programs, all that down below in the description. My coaching programs, my coaching programs also below. For the Recognize Your Vision coaching program. And so freebie down below as well for how to win every day. Let's make it happen. Like Eden and I said, let's go. And not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. Let's go. Let's get it. Vision.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.